Morning, Nick. Welcome to this show. Thanks for coming on.
Morning.
We just really want to get an understanding of where you started in the business and why you started the business. What was the journey? What did it look like?
Yeah, where it all came from.
Yeah, where it all came from.
Okay. Right in the early days, as a 15-year-old youth, I got a Saturday job at a local signwriters, a traditional signwriters. A friend of my father's was the boss there, and he gave me a Saturday morning job. And I used to go and help out, make the tea, sweep up, and eventually do a bit of handwritten signage, which was always something I wanted to go into. We then followed on. Fortunately, I was taken on a YTS scheme back in the day.
For the listeners that aren't sure what that is, what's a YTS scheme?
Okay, a YTS scheme back in the day was a government scheme. The wage was £25 a week, and you went on block release to college 1 day a week for that, and then you spent the other 4 days at a business of your choice. Yeah.
And you chose that particular business? Why? What?
Yeah. Because of my relationship with the boss there, I'd got to know him and he'd got to know me, so we were both happy with each other, and he agreed to take me on a 2-year scheme. Yeah.
And going from there, did you always know that you wanted to start your own business, or was it something that you sort of fell into and it just snowballed?
Yeah, it was always my dream to have my own business. I've always been taught that to make money, to make a success, you've got to do it for yourself. You can always make a good living with a good trade, but I think to make money, you need to go that extra step and start your own business. Yeah.
So what sort of age was you when you broke away from the traditional 9 to 5 and started your business yourself?
Okay, well, after the YTS scheme, I was taken on a proper apprenticeship with the signwriting company, and that was another 5 years. So in total, 7 years as an apprentice, really. I was still making tea at the age of 23 for the guys in the yard.
And what year was this, roughly?
1992.
Right, so going back quite a while.
Yes, back in the previous century. But no, it was all good fun and a great base for me to start my signage journey was achieved at this traditional signwriters. Yeah.
Did you experience any hardships or major obstacles in starting your own business? What were the difficulties and challenges that you're up against when you made that transition? Yeah,
certainly frightening times in the early days. As a human being, you doubt your ability. You doubt the fact that you can make enough money to pay your mortgage. There's all these sorts of things that keep you awake at night in the early days. But I think ultimately the only way to do it, I was working 24/7 quite often, and you never really switch off in the early days, and I think that's key to giving yourself a grounding in a business and to start off. Certainly.
So it was really full on?
It certainly was, yeah.
Is it still today?
No, I like to think that I've got a better work-life balance today. I do spread my time quite literally in different directions now. Home, life, hobbies, holiday.
So it's more of a balanced lifestyle than what it used to be?
It certainly is. I mean, most of my time now is spent working on the business rather than in the business. I would class myself as a BDM for the business, but also looking at ways of being more innovative, bringing in new techniques, looking at how we can be better, and constantly trying to improve on what we do.
What was your biggest challenge in growing the business? Because obviously technology is changing all the time, and I think the signage industry, you have to keep up pace with modern technology and changing
certainly. I mean, from day one, the only tools of the trade were a maul stick and signwriting brushes and a pot of paint, and that was literally all you needed to carry out your work then. Now we're producing, or we're selling, fully interactive digital signage, which is the latest thing in our industry. The challenges, of course, keeping up with technology. It's always been at the forefront of what we do, and I think we've always scored above our competitors because we've gone the extra mile. we're always trying to innovate and improve what we do and what we offer customers.
And where are you looking to take the business into the future? What's the biggest change that you're going to see, do you think?
Okay, digital signage obviously is a progressive sector. We want to get bigger and better in that. At the moment, as we sit here, it is still a bolt-on to our main core business, which will always, I think, be signage, physical signage, which is where the companies come from. So I never want to lose that. But keeping in touch with the latest technology is key to our expansion and our growth.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the digital signage and how that evolved and what it looks like?
Yeah. Well, digital signage, the biggest seller for us are the freestanding digital totems that you see in company receptions.
So like interactive screens then?
That's correct, yeah, touch screens. Hotel foyers, exhibitions are now a big one for us because everybody wants to be a bit better than their competitors, and rather than have a pull-up banner, that looks very static, you can actually bring your stand to life with digital signage.
Is that quite a fast-growing part of the business then?
Yes, it's. I wouldn't say it's taken off massively, but I think the scope is there for us to progress with it as time goes. What's key for us is getting the right people in the right positions, i.e. bringing in digital technicians who can help me and help the company progress into bigger, wider things.
And where do you typically go to source that talent?
That's a good question. We've always got our ears to the ground, and we're always looking for good people. That's not just in the digital sector, that's the whole company. So if you are out there looking for industry, an industry that you can actually thrive in, then connect to us and come and knock on the door, and we're always interested in talking to people.
Absolutely, that's what this is all about. It's connecting people and growing businesses, really.
Yeah,
so
correct.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
You've won loads of awards. I did a bit of background research and some of the awards here. So Small Business of the Year in 2012, in 2017 Business Improvement Through Technology, that was awarded by East Midlands Chamber. Business of the Year in 2018, so still fairly recent.
Yes.
Then B2B Business of the Year in 2018 as well. Certificate of Excellence. Manufacturer of the Year, that's an interesting one through East Midlands Chamber.
Yeah.
And also Bringing Learning to Life. Now this is something that when I was reading about it, your involvement with Keele University.
Correct.
I'm very interested in lean manufacturing.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that, how that connection evolved and why you got involved with that?
Well, lean manufacturing signage is becoming really popular, and it's almost a necessity for many of the factories and workplaces that you see now. It basically it's a slant on everyday signage. We just build things into it. We build simple clip frames, or would even build digital signage into our main signs. So it's a great way of combining digital and physical signage, and ultimately satisfying the customer's needs.
How did that connection with Keele University come about?
Okay, well that was originally arranged by one of our marketeers in-house. He made the first contact, and then they started talking to each other, one of the professors and one of the students, and came in for a meeting. And the student, she set up to do 100 hours, purely investigating and researching how digital signage can work in the lean manufacturing environment. So she went away and did lots of research and produced a really extensive report that we found invaluable to who we approach and the sort of things that people expect within a factory environment, and how they could make their job easier.
I'm assuming you also implemented that in your own business as well.
Yes, we are doing that as well downstairs. Forever improving on what we try to do. whilst not taking our eye off the bread and butter of the business, which ultimately pays the wages for the guys downstairs. Yeah.
And what do you feel is your biggest challenge in your business right now?
Biggest challenge? I wasn't going to mention Brexit. We still don't know what extent that will affect us. I think internally, I don't think that'll be a problem. Externally, maybe if it affects some of our key clients, then potentially it has a knock-on effect down the line to us. I've had no information that will happen, but Brexit is the word on the street, isn't it? Other challenges, I guess employing the right people is always going to be a challenge for any business. You teach them the hardy way, and hopefully they embrace that. And unfortunately, if some don't, then naturally they will go by the wayside.
And what would you consider to be the hardy way? What's your values as a business?
Okay.
What are you looking for?
Yeah, well, I'm looking for honesty. I think with honesty you can teach most things. I'm looking for good timekeeping. I'm looking for people who will innovate off their own back, come forward with ideas, and help me push the business forward, help us all succeed.
What's your biggest motivation? Why are you in this business, and why do you get up every day and come to work?
Yeah, this time of year it's a bit of a struggle. But no, seriously, I love what I do. I love this place. I'm so proud of it. Just driving down the drive, I still feel that buzz, of where we've come from, and where we are today, and where we can go further still. You obviously you work for your family, you work for a good life for them, which is vital for most of us. We like the nice things in life, and this business has helped us achieve it.
What do you feel your personal brand and your business brand represent?
Okay. As a company, we're a Burton-based company. Mm-hmm. I've cut my teeth in Burton all my life, and ultimately we're in a position now where we can give back to the community, both the business community, with our involvement with the Chamber of Commerce, mm-hmm. and also with charities locally. We do a lot of work with charities and help support them in different ventures, supplying free signs, free banners, but also our staff do get involved in charitable activity, which I'm a great promoter of.
What sort of charities are you involved with at the moment? Okay,
the YMCA in Burton is a big one of ours. For the last couple of years I've took part in the annual Sleep Out, which is their biggest fundraiser, where we all sleep rough at Burton Albion in November every year, which is a great month to do it, by the way. If you could pass that on to the organisers, a summer night would be better, but I think to get a proper feel of what it is really like for rough sleepers, they pick the winter months for obvious reasons. Mm-hmm. We're also supporters of the Burton Addiction Centre, which is based down the road here, trying to help people with various problems, and support a vital charity that doesn't get a lot of government funding. More recently, the Donna Louise Trust, I was fortunate enough to visit their hospice in Stoke-on-Trent last Christmas, and I saw some of the work that they do there, and it just it was a great level, let's say, and from that day I've put them down as one of my key charities moving forward to help.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And in the early days when you were starting your business, did you seek assistance or mentorship from other people, or was you really alone in your business in what you was doing?
Yeah, I was fortunate. My father at the time was in business. He was MD of a local garage. He gave me a few quid towards my first vinyl plotter, which was invaluable. And I was pleased to say that I managed to pay that back within 6 months. But his business advice was always very useful in the early days, and it still is today. He's working for me in the accounts department part-time. He's semi-retired, but to have that family connection and that well, another pair of eyes, and obviously that experience, you just can't buy that, can you?
Do you have any external mentors or anyone that comes in to help you with the business?
Over the years, I've had one or two business consultants come and give us different ideas and things, but ultimately it's from within. I mentioned my ex-boss as well. He's 89 years old, and I still go and see him, and he comes in here at times, and he sees some of the technology, and he's blown away by it. And he's got a tear in his eye as to where we've come as a company. He's super proud of us, and he was a super mentor in the early days. He gave me a real sound knowledge of what it took to make a good sign, because that sounds quite simple, but you see that many signs out there today, and they've not been thought about. The layout, the colour schemes, all the fundamentals of a good sign were taught to me when I was 16 years old, and that's stuck with me today.
So that's been really key to your success.
Yeah. I'll ever be grateful for them early days, definitely.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And do you have a business idol now, or a role model that you look up to in business?
Yeah, Bill Gates, Richard Branson. Quite keen on the way Duncan Bannatyne ran his businesses. I read his book some years ago now, but I was quite inspired by some of the things I read in that book. How
do you feel that your business is going to grow, for example, in the next 2 to 3 years? What are you focusing on in your business?
Yeah, now, as a company, we are bringing in more experienced staff, which I think is key.
Is that hard to find in this industry?
It is. Most of our good staff have come through recruitment, a particular recruitment agency which specialises in our sector. You have to pay, as you know, for that privilege, but ultimately it often works out worthwhile. We're very big on bringing apprentices through. In fact, in 2016 we partnered with Burton College, Burton South Derbyshire College, just down the road there, and we formed the Hardy Signs and Print Academy, which has industry print machines in the classrooms, and our apprentices all come through that college.
So when they come to you, they've basically got the basic skills necessary to actually be of some value and to have input into the business.
That's right. It's a similar process to what I did 35 years ago. They go on block release to college, and they learn the processes in the classroom environment, which I think is still useful to the youth of today. To be taught literally, and then they come here for the lion's share of the apprenticeship, which is the hands-on stuff, which is really key to see whether that is the industry they want to go into. We can usually tell within a few months whether an apprentice is going to be whether he's suited to what we do and the industry that we work in.
Okay, and do you have quite a strong, passionate team?
We do. They all get on pretty well. The workshop manager has a bit of fun and games at times, keeping everybody in line, particularly when we've got quite a few young learners on board. But they soon learn. I mentioned the Hardy way before, and that's important to me that they do, and they are given every opportunity to thrive. And we've been very successful in taking apprentices and also employing them after their apprenticeship finishes.
Do you feel that most of your apprentices that come through do stay with you as a company and grow?
Yes. Now, we naturally have a turnover of staff like any company. I'm not going to say we don't, but ultimately I think a good 80% of young learners who come through Hardy Signs will end up with a full-time job and real prospects for the future.
And do you think a lot of that success is down to having that involvement with the college and the academy? And you've
Certainly.
been heavily involved in that process as well.
Yeah. There's a very strong bond between the two companies, South Derbyshire, Burton South Derbyshire College and Hardy Signs, and we are there on site quite often. You know, we help out where we can. We'll have additional learners come here to do, say, 30 hours for their benefit. So the doors are firmly open between the two companies, and we find that really beneficial.
Okay. Yeah. Just winding it back a little bit, you spoke earlier about a work-life balance, and how in the early days it was 24/7, and I'm assuming that's through choice as well as necessity.
Yeah.
But as you've progressed, how have you been able to establish that work-life balance where you're not, that business doesn't run you, but you run the business, and you're able to break away from it and get some respite from it?
Yeah.
How do you find that balance?
Well, I think employing the right people. My brother, a fellow director, has been with me for 20 years plus, and he's come through the business. So I'm quite comfortable going on holiday for a fortnight. I know Tom can pick up the reins, and he's the ops director, and the staff we have as well. You know, a lot of the staff have been with me 15 years plus, so they know their job. You know, they don't have to be told every day what to do. So that's fantastic when you get to that position. But it takes many years to get that. Yeah.
Do you feel that you'll always have an involvement in the business?
Yeah.
Much like your ex-boss?
Yes, I do. I'm 51 this year, and I don't see retirement anytime soon.
Is it because you're passionate about the business?
I love what I do. Maybe slow it down, maybe reduce the hours, the days in the future. But I've still got that passion. I still love winning an order. I still love visiting potential customers, doing surveys, attending events, and promoting Hardy Signs. That's all I've ever known, really.
Are you involved in any of the businesses?
Myself and my wife have a property business, a bit like yourself.
That's interesting.
Yeah, indeed, yeah. We have a few buy-to-lets. So yeah, property is, I won't say a hobby because it's a bit more than that, but I say having this business has enabled us to invest in property over the years, which ultimately will be our pension.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm quite happy about things. Yeah.
Is that all locally?
Yeah, it is. Although we do have a property in London and one in Spain.
Oh, nice.
But both of those are at the moment personal use,
okay.
So I'm not making any money on them. They're costing me.
But they're to be enjoyed, right?
Indeed.
What's your appetite for risk? Obviously, working a 9 to 5 is very different to running a business, and it takes a certain type of mindset and person to run their own business.
Yeah.
What's your appetite for risk, and how do you manage your risk?
Okay. Interesting question. I wouldn't say I'm a risk taker, but equally I'm not risk averse.
Mm-hmm.
As we sit here currently, our biggest customer last year accounted for 20% of our turnover. Now that's the biggest it's ever been if I look at historically through the years.
Mm.
So obviously, you know, you've got a certain dependence on one company keeping you going with that sort of work. Now, ultimately, we've always spread our risk with lots of key accounts. You know, we might have 20 accounts within the company that use us on a monthly basis, if not weekly. So that's where I like it to be. Apart from buying capital equipment, we've never really gone into huge lending, which I think would be a problem, or massive overdrafts, which again I've avoided like the plague. I would rather get the money in before I spend it, and that's always been my sort of philosophy.
So run your business fairly cash rich?
Through business and personal life, yeah.
Have you experienced any personal or business hardships that have knocked you back and you've had to fight through those?
If I'm honest, nothing too major. You'll always have a catastrophe somewhere in your business life. it might be a sign falling down, it might be a customer not paying you. I mean, obviously these things are, the latter is more is more common than the former, because our signs never fall down, of course. But ultimately, there'll always be companies out there that will, for whatever reason, refuse or are unable to pay their bill. So that's probably our biggest worry at times. But I am very stringent on who we do work for. There are ways of investigating companies before you actually sign on the dotted line, as I'm sure you know. Experian is a very useful tool to our accounts department. Challenges, I think the right staff. I've said already, and the staff that won't let you down, staff that will be there standing shoulder to shoulder when there is a problem. That's when you find out who your key people are, and I've been fortunate to have them people throughout my 27 years in business.
And from what I know of your business, you're probably one of the biggest signage businesses in Derbyshire, if not the wider community.
Yeah.
How do you stay one step ahead of the competition? What differentiates you from other signage companies?
Okay. So what's our USP?
Yeah.
That's a good question. We are heavily involved in the community, as I mentioned previously. And I think, us putting in has enabled us also to take out as well. We will sponsor events, we will be generous towards charities, and I think it all creates like a social conscience, which Hardies have got, and we continue to prosper in that in that direction.
So it's a two-way street, really, isn't it?
Absolutely. You're
going to get back what you put in.
Yeah. Again, it's an old cliche, but it's very true. Yeah. I guess ultimately we do go the extra mile. I know it's an old cliche, but we're always there. We're first there if there's a problem, and I think that speaks volumes for any business, because quality is expected from any signage company. What about when it goes wrong? How do you deal with problems? And I think the way that we deal with things, we'll be there same day to sort problems out, whereas lots of our competitors may drag things along and ultimately lose their customers because of it. I think how you react to a problem is the biggest plus. Not that we have many problems, of course.
And what advice would you give someone just starting out in their own business, regardless of what industry that they're in? What key things do they need to think about, do you think? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, I would think about not rushing in with premises and large overheads, because that will really cripple you in the early days. If you can work from home, do that. Keep your overheads to a minimum. Try and build a bit of surplus up in the bank before you even think about moving to a premises, because that is probably your biggest overhead ultimately. Do as much as you can yourself. Obviously the less you spend, the more chance your business has got of setting down its roots and starting to prosper. But early years, you might get paid for a really lucrative job you've done. Don't think that money's yours, because by the time you've paid your VAT, your taxes, your overheads, you might find that there's a small wage in it for you. But many people may make that mistake, seeing 4 figures in the bank, thinking I'll go and buy myself a new car or something. Don't. I ran a van as my car for 15 years, and that was my work van and my car, because
I can relate to that.
yeah, but I could have gone out and bought a car as well if I wanted to be a bit flash. But that's not the way. You've got to have that backup. You need the rainy day money as well, because who knows, with business, you really don't know what's around the corner. So keep a good cash surplus. Don't spend on things that aren't necessary. that's kind of where I'm at. And work damn hard. There's no substitute for hard work. You've got to get out of bed in the morning, and you've still got to be there at night if you have to be. Yeah.
I think that's brilliant advice. And I think for many successful people, that is the reality.
It is. It is. It's not all glamour.
Yeah.
Not all glamour at all.
Yeah. It's been absolutely fantastic to chat with you, Nick. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.